The bizarre true story of an ancient Egyptian tomb with no body inside. The year is 323 BCE. Alexander the Great was dead. His empire was crumbling. In Alexandria, his grieving widow, the former queen of Persia, sat alone in her chambers. She had fled to the city after Alexander's death, hoping it would be safe under the rule of his friend Ptolemy the Fiend. But Ptolemy wasn't the honorable man Alexander thought he was. He was willing to do whatever it took to keep his power, even kill the one person left who could make a claim to Alexander's throne. Fearing for her life, Roxana fled to the temple of the goddess Hathor in the city of Siwa, some 500 miles away. There she believed she would be safe, but she was wrong. Ptolemy sent assassins to murder her. They entered the temple, found Roxana, and killed her. And then they did something that would baffle the ancient world. They put her body inside a golden coffin and buried it deep within the desert sands without a tomb, no marker, just a hidden grave. It's a strange story that today sounds like an urban legend. It comes from accounts written by the Roman historian Plutarch. But there's a problem. Archaeologists have never been able to verify it. That is, until now. The discovery of a mysterious tomb in Egypt has revealed what may be the final resting place of Alexander the Great's widow. But this is just the beginning of the bizarre story. You're watching this channel. Join me today as we explore the shocking details of the discovery and uncover the riveting tale of an ancient queen's mysterious murder and burial in a secret tomb. Egypt, 323 BCE. When Alexander the Great died, his empire crumbled into civil war. Rival generals fought for control of his vast realm. One was Ptolemy I, the general of his army in Egypt. At the time, Egypt was a province of Alexander's empire, but Ptolemy seized the opportunity following the king's death to declare himself pharaoh. He established the city of Alexandria on the Mediterranean coast, named after Alexander, and made it the new capital of his kingdom. Another contender for the throne was Alexander's widow, Roxana. She was only 19 when she married the great conqueror, and even younger when she gave birth to his son, Alexander IV. Although their marriage was not a happy one, Roxana held a strong claim to the throne through her son. For this reason, she lived in constant fear of her husband's former generals, especially Ptolemy, who were eager to erase all traces of Alexander's bloodline. When Ptolemy heard that Roxana was living in the temple of Hathor, he dispatched 2 of his most trusted henchmen to bring her to Alexandria. There he planned to marry her to one of his court officials, effectively ending her bloodline altogether. But Roxana refused to go, hiding out in the temple, believing herself to be protected by the goddess. Unfortunately for her, she was wrong. Ptolemy sent back assassins who infiltrated the temple disguised as priests and lured Roxana out by promising her safe passage to another temple where she could live incognito. But once outside, the assassins pounced, killing her. To ensure there would be no witnesses, they also killed the priests who had accompanied her. Then came the strange decision to encase her body in gold and bury it in the desert without a proper burial chamber or tomb. It was an unusual practice, since Egyptians generally preferred to entomb their dead with great ceremony, encasing them in stone coffins and placing them in monumental tombs filled with treasures and provisions for the afterlife. Ptolemy may have hoped that by burying Roxana without honor, he would diminish her status and end any claims that her son might have to the throne. But the burial didn't stop the whispers. In fact, it only fueled speculation about the fate of the missing queen. Her disappearance became a legend, passed down through the generations until it reached the ears of Plutarch, who included the story in his book, Life of Alexander the Seventh. Fast forward to today. For centuries, historians have debated whether Roxana's tomb existed or if it was nothing more than a figment of Plutarch's imagination. Some have suggested that her body may have been disposed of in a different way altogether, perhaps by burning or by throwing her into the sea. However, most scholars agree that the account must have come from some sort of primary source, such as a letter or inscription. Otherwise, Plutarch wouldn't have included it in his work. So the search for Roxana's tomb began. Archaeologists searched all over Siwa, focusing on the Temple of Hathor, where Plutarch said that she had been killed. They looked for telltale signs of a burial, such as a change in the level of the sand or an anomaly in the radar readings, but found nothing. As the years went by, hope of finding her tomb faded and the case grew cold. That is until a team of archaeologists led by Kathleen Martinez of the University of Santo Tomas in Manila made a stunning discovery. In 2020, while excavating at the archaeological site of Taposiris Magna, some 30 miles from Alexandria, they uncovered a burial chamber hidden beneath the floor of a Roman villa. Inside were two mummies, a woman and a man. The archaeologists were stunned to find that both of them had been encased in solid gold, a rare practice reserved only for royalty and the wealthiest members of society. But there was something even more remarkable about the female mummy. Her coffin bore the name of Cleopatra, wife of Ptolemy II, who ruled Egypt from 283 to 246 BCE. The team believed they might have stumbled upon the lost tomb of Cleopatra and her husband, Ptolemy II. But then they made a shocking find. The DNA testing revealed that the woman in the tomb was not Cleopatra, but rather her mother, Berenice. And the male mummy was not Ptolemy II, but his father, Ptolemy I. To make matters even more confusing, Berenice and Ptolemy I had died decades before Roxana was murdered. So who were these mummies, and how did they end up in a Roman villa, buried beneath the floor? This is where things take a bizarre turn, because the answer to those questions can be found in an ancient letter. In 1999, a collection of 20 letters dating to the 3rd century BCE were discovered in the Egyptian city of Akhmim. They were written by an official in Ptolemy I's court to a friend in the city of Siwa. The letters contain all kinds of information about daily life in Ptolemaic Egypt, but the most interesting part is that one of the letters mentions the burial of a queen in the Temple of Hathor. It describes how the body of a queen who died in Siwa was brought back to Alexandria and buried in a secret location known only to a few. The writer goes to great lengths to hide the identity of the queen, referring to her only as the wife of the king. But it's clear from other parts of the letter that she is none other than Roxana. With the contents of the letter in mind, archaeologists re-examined the burial chamber at Topkapi Magna. They realized that it was too small to hold two people. Clearly the bones of Ptolemy I and Berenice had been placed here at some later date, possibly during the reign of Cleopatra. But why? And what happened to Roxana's body? Kathleen Martinez believes that Ptolemy I's bones were placed in the tomb to guard his wife's body, which was secretly buried somewhere else. But where? The search continued until one day a local farmer told the team about a strange mound on his property near the village of Idfu, about 150 miles south of Aswan. It was an odd shape and size, much larger than the surrounding burial mounds. Intrigued, the team decided to investigate. They flew to Cairo and drove south to the village of Idfa. There they met with the farmer and walked out into the desert to see the burial mound. At first glance, it didn't look like much, just a small hill in the middle of nowhere. But the archaeologists knew that something was hidden beneath its surface. Using a metal detector, they scanned the area around the mound, looking for clues. They found a broken piece of pottery and a coin minted during the reign of Cleopatra. Both suggested that the mound was ancient. With permission from the landowner, the team excavated a trench around the mound. They discovered fragments of a marble statue, part of a hieroglyphic inscription, a scarab amulet, and several pieces of pottery. They were sure they were standing on the edge of an ancient tomb. But when they finally opened it, they found something shocking. Inside the chamber was a single coffin, an alabaster sarcophagus decorated with scenes from the Book of the Dead. But there was no mummy inside. All that remained was a fragment of bone. The team carefully collected the fragments, placed them in a box, and transported them to the lab. There they used X-ray technology to identify the bone. It came from a young woman, probably in her early 20s. It was also a foreigner, not Egyptian, based on its shape and structure. All the evidence was pointing to one conclusion. This was the tomb of Roxana. Finally, after centuries of mystery, her remains had been identified and laid to rest. It's amazing to think that after all this time, we still don't know exactly what happened to Roxana. Was she really murdered by order of Ptolemy I? Or was there another reason for her death? We may never know the full story, but thanks to the hard work of archaeologists, we now know where she died and where she was buried. So what do you think? Do you have any theories about Roxana's death or the discovery of her tomb? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. It really helps us grow. Thanks for watching. See you next time.